Imagine this: silver at $200 an ounce. Not next year, not next month, but potentially this week. Most people are asleep at the wheel, thinking silver is quiet, boring, maybe even safe. But behind the scenes, billionaires and institutions like JP Morgan are quietly positioning themselves for a move that could shock the market. This isn't hype. This isn't guesswork. This is what's happening in real time. And if you don't understand it, you could miss the single biggest silver opportunity of your life. Welcome to Metal Mindset. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the big players. Trust me, you'll want to catch every insight in this video, because the next 20 minutes could save or make you a fortune. The silver market has been calm, almost deceptively calm, for weeks. Charts look stable, prices look steady, headlines are quiet. But as any serious trader or investor knows, that's when the real moves are being made off the radar. JP Morgan alone holds positions in silver that would make your head spin. They are not just buying here and there, they are strategically moving, quietly accumulating massive amounts of silver contracts. And they're not alone. Billionaires and hedge funds are also quietly preparing for a scenario few retail investors even consider: a rapid surge past $200. Now, you might be thinking, $200 seems extreme. It's far above the current silver price. Why would these players even consider it? Here's the thing: markets are not linear, they are not gradual. When institutional players decide to trigger a move, it happens fast. And silver is the perfect candidate for this kind of explosive action. Its market is small compared to gold, it's highly liquid, and it reacts violently to large buying or selling pressure. That's why JP Morgan and other big players have been quietly building positions. They are creating the conditions for a potential $200 shock. But it's not just about the price, it's about positioning. These players are hedging, adjusting exposure, and setting up for multiple scenarios. They are watching key support and resistance levels, monitoring retail positioning, and most importantly, controlling the narrative. And this is where the opportunity for you, the viewer, comes in. When the market moves like this, those who are prepared profit, those who aren't, get left behind. Metal Mindset is here to help you understand the signals that most people miss. One of the first things to understand is that JP Morgan's silver positions aren't public knowledge in real time. They appear in reports after the fact, but those reports reveal patterns that tell a story. Over the past few months, JP Morgan has been steadily increasing their long exposure in silver while simultaneously hedging with shorts in other areas. This is a classic strategy: accumulate quietly, create leverage, and be ready to benefit when the market reacts. And this week, all indicators suggest that something is brewing. Let's talk about timing. Why this week? Historical patterns in silver show that February often triggers major moves due to market psychology, technical cycles, and institutional rebalancing. When you combine that with recent hedge fund positioning, unusual options activity, and JP Morgan's increasing exposure, the conditions for a massive move are lining up perfectly. This isn't speculation, it's pattern recognition based on decades of market behavior. And Metal Mindset followers know that pattern recognition is one of the most powerful tools in trading and investing. Here's another key point: silver is highly sensitive to macroeconomic triggers. Inflation data, interest rates, geopolitical tensions, all of these can be catalysts. But what makes silver particularly interesting is that it responds more dramatically to surprise events. A small shift in sentiment, or a sudden move by a big player like JP Morgan, can send silver prices soaring or crashing within hours. And that is exactly why billionaires are quietly moving now. They anticipate that the next catalyst could ignite a chain reaction. You might wonder, are retail investors completely blind to this? Mostly yes. Most people watch mainstream news, maybe glance at a silver chart and think they're informed. But the real action happens in the shadows, in large option positions, futures contracts, and off-exchange accumulation. This is where the billionaires operate. And if you're not paying attention to these subtle signals, you will only see the move after it has already happened. That's why understanding JP Morgan's positioning is so critical. They are essentially the canary in the coal mine for silver. Now let's talk psychology. Why do $200 silver predictions feel extreme? Because they are extreme for most people. Humans are wired to anchor to current prices and trends. We think in increments of $1, $5, maybe $10, but when a big player moves billions of dollars in a small market like silver, price doesn't move incrementally, it jumps, and history shows this repeatedly. Look at 2011, 2020, and even parts of 2023. Sudden, sharp silver spikes happened because institutional players decided it was time. Right now, we are in a setup that closely resembles those moments. It's also important to understand the risk dynamics. Big players are not reckless, they calculate, hedge, and anticipate countermoves. JP Morgan's strategy is designed to capitalize on volatility while minimizing risk to themselves. For you as an investor or trader, this means two things. First, the move is real. Second, timing is everything. If you wait too long, you risk entering at the wrong moment. If you act too early without understanding positioning, you could be exposed unnecessarily. That's where Metal Mindset comes in, breaking down these moves in plain language. showing you signals and helping you think like the insiders. One of the most fascinating aspects of this setup is the convergence of multiple factors. Silver supply has been tightening, industrial demand is steady, and investor sentiment is fragile. Meanwhile, JP Morgan's positioning indicates they anticipate a squeeze, either forcing shorts to cover or creating a rapid buying frenzy. This kind of orchestrated setup doesn't happen often, and those who recognize it early, understand the signals, and act decisively can capture extraordinary gains. Let's break down some of the mechanics. Futures, contracts, options, leveraged positions. These are tools the big players use to move markets. For example, if JP Morgan has a significant long position in silver futures while retail traders are mostly short, a small trigger can cause a cascade. Shorts get squeezed, momentum traders pile in, and suddenly $200 silver is no longer theoretical, it's happening, and it can happen faster than anyone expects. This is why watching unusual market activity, unusual options volumes, and insider positioning is critical. We also need to consider the global angle. Silver isn't just a US market phenomenon. Moves by institutions like JP Morgan ripple internationally. Asian investors, European hedge funds, and commodity traders worldwide are watching us positioning closely. When US institutions act, it often sets off coordinated moves elsewhere. The point is, this week could be a tipping point, and understanding the signals now gives you a front row seat to potentially historic price action. At this stage, you might be asking, okay, but what should I actually do? First, don't panic or rush. The goal is not to blindly buy silver, but to understand the market dynamics, monitor positioning, and identify the best entry points. Second, focus on the signals the big players leave behind: volume spikes, unusual options activity, and price levels where accumulation appears to be happening. Third, consider your risk tolerance and plan your trades or investments accordingly. The insiders aren't giving away instructions, but they are leaving hints, and if you know where to look, you can follow the trail. Remember, the name of the game is patience and observation. Even with a $200 target, there will be volatility. There may be pullbacks, fake-outs, and market noise. That's why it's critical to maintain a clear strategy and stick to your plan. Metal Mindset is committed to providing guidance, clear analysis, and storytelling that helps you connect the dots without being overwhelmed by hype. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, preparation, and strategy. Another crucial factor is positioning versus leverage. JP Morgan and other billionaires don't just accumulate physical silver, they use leverage strategically. This amplifies moves and can make even moderate buying trigger significant price shifts. For retail investors, understanding leverage is key. You don't need to replicate it, but you do need to respect it. The difference between knowing the market is moving and understanding why it's moving is often the difference between profit and loss. Let's not forget the narrative. The mainstream media rarely covers these subtle market setups. They report after the fact or focus on sensational headlines. The real story happens behind the curtain. That's why following channels like Metal Mindset is so valuable here. We break down what the billionaires are doing, why JP Morgan is positioned the way it is, and how you can interpret the market signals yourself. Knowledge is your edge, and in the next few days, it could be the edge that matters most. As we approach the critical days, keep an eye on price action around key levels. Technical analysis combined with insider positioning provides a roadmap. Watch for sudden volume surges, unusual trading patterns, and options activity that suggests hedging or aggressive accumulation. These are the signs that $200 silver is not just possible, it could be imminent. Before we wrap up, remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every week, Metal Mindset delivers insights you won't see on mainstream channels. This isn't just about silver, it's about understanding the hidden forces that move markets, recognizing patterns before they break, and putting yourself in a position to act when others are still guessing. Finally, take a moment to comment below. What are your thoughts on JP Morgan's positioning? Are you preparing for $200 silver, or do you think it's a bubble waiting to pop? Share your perspective, because discussion is where the best insights often come from. And don't forget to share this video with anyone who trades, invests, or wants to understand the hidden moves of the billionaires. This week could define the direction of silver for months, maybe even years. So stay alert, follow the signals, and remember, $200 silver is not a fantasy sale that the insiders are quietly preparing for, and the market is ready to respond. Watch closely, think strategically, and use the knowledge from Metal Mindset to stay ahead of the crowd.